Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm showing up myself no matter what other people say.
Thank you so much. So you don't know if they're...
His mom is everything.
I see. Okay. Well, you know what? So we got 3 strong young gentlemen and you. Your strong young matcha self there. Okay, good. Thank you. Problem is, these are 2 different chairs. Well, let's see. Maybe I'll find out. Maybe
Hey, Liz.
I saw you doing a magic trick. Crazy.
I know, yeah. It's like standing on the sea.
I know, it all started with that, but now
I'm just gonna look at the order of service, we can go over it.
they changed the space.
Oh, I said, yeah. Who's the
Weird how this thing comes and goes.
Yeah, I did, over the holidays. And then I waited for a week until we got back to San Diego. And then I'm like,
It's like a woman's arrow.
yeah, I did around my children always. I mean, it's so nice. Why are you sniffing? Yeah, no, we just did it. I think it's like a gesture thing too. But that one's like, if you want, they have one on the road.
That's so special.
Where did you find the, so I got to read.
those who walk on 4 legs, those who fly, those who swim and crawl, all of the mammal people, the living green creatures, the energy in the rock people and all of the created world. Let love be the foundation for living the values of justice, equity, and interdependence.
Good morning. So for our chalice lighting this morning, we're going to be doing reading number 448. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. And our opening song this morning is, "O World, Thou Choosest Not the Better Part." It's probably not sung often, so probably you don't know how it goes, so Michael's going to...
I'm going to play through it once before you sing it.
Sonny's going to do the 8 principles, but I just want to point out that it didn't dawn on me that this song was by George Santayana. And if you know who he was an American philosopher who is famous for the saying, you know it, those who fail to remember history are destined to repeat it. So it's apropos for today's sermon.
We'll lead the congregation in the eight principles of Unitarian Universalism. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote the following covenants: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions.
And the candle lighting. Reading is 483. And it's by a very famous American poet named Wendell Berry. So this book is filled with good reading from good people. Wendell Berry was a pastoralist. He was born and raised in Kentucky and was one of the, I guess you could say, poet environmentalists in the country. Very famous. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound and fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. We have announcements this morning. Who's going to announce?
Oh, that's.
Back for announcements. Please join us following the service for Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is what we call the conversation, fellowship, and sharing of food that follows Sunday service. If you would like to help with a future Sweet Tooth, there's a sign up on the door to the kitchen, or you can speak with Anita Cottington. Our minister, Reverend Petra Toms, will have office hours on Tuesday, April 1st at 1 p.m. All are welcome to join in the conversation. Do you like live music? Do you want to support a great cause like Doctors Without Borders? Then be here next Sunday, April 6th at 4 p.m. when 4 old friends, that's our music director, Michael Sanzania, and 3 other wonderful musicians and friends will play a special benefit concert supporting Doctors Without Borders.
3 other much better musicians than me, so really it's going to be a good show.
These 4 have played together for 5 decades. Separately, they've worked with a who's who of music luminaries, from Chuck Berry and Jimmy Dean to Mace and Dolly Parton. The 4 p.m. concert is followed by a dinner. So it's a great concert, a great meal, and a great cause for just $30. Let's fill Friends Hall. Please invite your family, your friends, your neighbors. If you're paying by check, you can make it out to Doctors Without Borders. 2 weeks from now, on April 13th, we have a special Sunday poetry service. All members, friends, and visitors are invited to bring either a poem you like or an original poem to share with the congregation. Have you been to UUCCN's annual stewardship dinner and service auction? It's a fun early evening event for our community to gather and share a meal and help one another and our congregation. This year, it's on Saturday, April 26th, so mark your calendar today. Don't miss it. There will be more info about the event in the coming weeks. Please join us on April 26th. And the UUCCN Book Club read for April is A Fire at the Center, Solidarity, Whiteness, and Becoming a Water Protector by Karen von Fossen. The book club meets on Zoom on April 24th at 8 p.m. Check the UUCCN email for Zoom information. Spring is in the air. It certainly was yesterday. Crocuses and daffodils are starting to appear. It's time for gardeners to think about planting. Once again, UUCCN is doing a plant sale. You can find order forms on the visitors table. We hope you will place your order and encourage your friends and family to participate. It's a great fundraiser for our congregation, and we work with a family nursery here on Long Island. Also, applications are now open for the Student Activity Fund, a program that allows young UUs to live their values through paid summer internships at nonprofit organizations. For more information, please visit the Student Activity Fund website or speak with SAF committee members Chrissy Rolicki or Robin Rivera. One thing that makes UUCCN special is the volunteering of our members. Helping with Sunday service, religious education, office work, cleanup, sweet tooth, and other tasks are a way to give back to this community, to build relationships, and to find purpose. If you would like to help, please speak to me or another board member. That's it for announcements. So I'll go right into our offering and Thanksgiving. Thank you for your support of UCCN. Your pledges, donations, and volunteering sustain our congregation as we are 100% dependent on our members, friends, and guests. Please give today when the ushers pass the collection plate in a minute, or you can use a credit card on our website, uuccn.org. One of our traditions is to share our Sunday collection plate with another organization whose work aligns with our values and principles. For the month of March, we support Make the Road New York, the largest progressive grassroots immigration-led organization in New York State. The organization works on issues of workers' rights, immigrant and civil rights, environmental and housing justice, justice for transgender, gender nonconforming, intersex and queer people, and educational justice. It has over 23,000 members and 5 community centers in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Long Island, and Westchester. Please help with this important work by giving today. If you're sending a check, please write "Share the Plate March" on the memo line. Thank you again for all you do to support our congregation. We are truly grateful and truly blessed by the generosity of our community.
Sometimes watching the videos really gets you to actually feel and see what's actually happening on the ground. It's pretty bad. But if anyone else would like to share any joys or concerns, now's the time.
Sure. Yes, Dave. Well, last night I lost my brother-in-law, Mickey Benjamin, who actually came to many of our congregational events here with my sister Nancy Benjamin, and he lived a long life. He was about 90 years old. He had dementia
wonderful man, and I will miss him a lot. Yes.
We have a Joy here, 3 grandchildren.
Yes.
Who joined us today. What a pleasant.
I try not to bore them.
Yes, yes. Thank you for nothing. It's nice to see you guys. Dave and I yesterday went to the city, had fun, went to see Chicago, the longest running musical.
That's great.
And the dancing is just so phenomenal and beautiful. Very joyful for me, I just love it. And went the train on time, and went to Olive Garden dinner, had a margarita on a Sunday. So we had a good day.
So, some people know I've been having a transition with my mom, but she's doing okay. And, but then on Wednesday, my uncle passed away, very unexpectedly. He was 70 and went in his sleep. So, it's been a difficult week. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
I just want to say that next Saturday, April 5th, from 1 to 2, there's a hands-off Long Island Bike Path rally. The rally is in front of the courthouse, Nassau Courthouse, Old Country Road. Saturday, 1 to 2, and right here at Old Country Road, and if you want to feel like you're participating, and fighting back and standing up for our beliefs. I'll see you there.
Actually, can I share something? Yeah, Phyllis, thank you for reminding people about that. Yesterday, Adam and I took Benjamin to the Tesla takedown protest in Manhasset, and it was a lovely day. We'd taken Benjamin to other demonstrations before, but it was really interesting to talk to the other people in the crowd there. And when you go to something like this, you never know who you're going to meet. Some people, they've never been to a demonstration in their life. Some people, they've been doing it since the 60s or before that. There's this nice old lady next to me, and she was talking about how nice it was that we brought our son. And I was like, well, when I was about his age, my dad brought me on the Labor Day parade. And then she started telling me about how her parents were Marxist-Leninists. And I was like, oh my goodness, and then like the 40s or 50s or something like that. So when you go to something like this, especially if it's in the daytime, it's very safe, and I'm thankful that we have the First Amendment. But if it's use it or lose it.
It's really fun to go for a demonstration without First Amendment. They bring all kind of vehicles. It's one fun to watch.
Do it while we still can.
Yes. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I had a wonderful week because I'm working with seniors, which we all are right now, and they are a marvelous group. I have a 96-year-old man who's going to be the master of ceremonies. I have another gentleman who is 98. I have a woman who is in her late 80s, who has the most beautiful soprano voice, and they're all doing something in the show. They're all divas. So it's just been a joy. It truly has been a joy. So I'm looking forward. Our show is going to be on April 10th. And they all asked me, what should we wear? And I said, well, just wear anything you feel beautiful in. And I said, it doesn't have to be, you know, a set dress.
Where's the show?
This is going to be a senior center, and it's at Oceanside. And I work with several senior centers. And that's just one of them. Then there's another center, they're doing a show in April as well. A much younger group, but they're also, you know, it's very uplifting because they really want to do this, and it's so good for them.
Yes.
And it's really, truly wonderful for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Try. I might get emotional, but I recently lost a really good friend, and we had her memorial on Friday, and I couldn't say anything because I was too emotional. But the joyful part is
nice, like on the second floor, they have like a whole art studio. And that art studio is called Splashes of Hope. And what they do is they make murals and they bring them all over to hospitals and centers, you know, for children that are disabled and things like that. And then there's a famous artist, I forgot her name, but she does all of that. She studied first in Europe, in Italy, and then she comes back and they paint all the, they also paint murals for veterans, as I said, hospitals, all kinds of centers. And then the husband, he puts them in his van and they drive all over the United States and visit, and they're also all over the world. So I thought that was really.
What's the name of it? What hall?
It's called Splashes of Hope. We brighten the world. And then they have an art studio up on the second floor in Quantum.
Huntington.
Huntington, it's in Huntington, yeah. It's near the water. It looks out, you know, it's a big estate that looks out over the water. But, there used to be a family that lived there, but of course over time things do change. Then they had the monks there. Around the wartime they had a school there, and now they have a catering hall there. But and also very interesting, there was a family of ravens there. And they're very, very smart. There was a big nest up on the roof, and they had babies there, and they got to know all the caretakers of the building. So that was interesting.
Thanks for that. Anyone else? If not, we'll move into our interlude. Mike?
Yeah. I'm going to call an audible since you quoted us at the end before starting something. So much noise and disrespect, we find it every place. Troubles that we don't expect, and people in your face. Don't you wish you could make it change? Don't you wish you knew that there was something you could do? Be the change. Be the change. Whatever others do, all the power is in you. Take the lead. All you need, if you want to change the world, be the change. There is hatred more and more. It's everywhere I see. From the folks who live next door and Washington, D.C. If I rail at it all alone, would my voice get through? What can one little person do? Be the change. Be the change. Whatever others do, all the power is in you. Take the lead. All you need, if you want to change the world, be the change. You give me bad, I give it back, and round we go. It only gets worse, that's a guarantee. But before we have one more attack, here's what I need to know. Who will break the circle, if not me? Be the change. Be the change. Whatever others do, all the power is in you. Take the lead. All you need, if you want to change the world, be the change. If you want
in how Americans sometimes engage one another in the public square, around holiday dining tables, at yard parties, and in workplaces. One might think there is nothing new about gracelessness, but one thing is certainly new, and it allows gracelessness to pervade more than at any other time in human history, triggering one graceless response after another. We can now communicate with just about anyone around the planet in time. That's new. I think gracelessness is what helped to cultivate this very perilous cultural and political moment in which we find ourselves. A moment in which Americans are seriously considering whether in the near future the United States will be a safe place to live in. Whether, as we have learned concerning 3 Yale academics who have already opted to leave the country, it might be better to flee the country for life elsewhere in order to stay safe. But before I go further, let me revisit the common definitions of grace. I'm talking about gracelessness here, before I go on about gracelessness. There are several meanings. For my purposes this morning, I will settle on these. Grace is a disposition to extend kindness, courtesy, or clemency, to allow a temporary exemption from a critical judgment of another's actions or beliefs. Grace is a bit like mercy in that its expression isn't required. Mercy usually implies that there is someone who is objectively guilty of some offense and so is deserving of some form of punishment. The person who extends mercy to the guilty party is not required to do so. In fact, justice may require that the guilty party pay a price for their offense. But the one who extends mercy, knowing that punishment is called for, withholds that punishment for reasons that go beyond what justice demands, all else being equal. Some of the most sublime lines ever written about mercy come from Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. You probably recall the play from high school or college. The lines I refer to are spoken by the character Portia, who is masquerading as both a man and as a lawyer, defending Antonio, the Venetian who is the merchant in question, from the justice sought by Shylock, a moneylender to whom Antonio owes a substantial sum, but that he cannot repay. Shylock presses his claim in court as Venetian law calls for a pound of literal flesh to be paid to Shylock, the pound of flesh to come from Antonio's breast. Venetian justice says that Shylock is in the right in his demand for Antonio's flesh, but Portia, in her defense of Antonio, sets aside the unambiguous legal claim and considers and holds forth in the courtroom concerning the quality of mercy. For the sake of clarity, I will substitute some of Shakespeare's words and use contemporary language, so my apologies to you who are Shakespeare purists. Here's Portia to the court. The quality of mercy is not compelled. It drops like gentle rain from heaven. Upon the place beneath it is twice blessed. It blesses the one who extends it as well as the one who receives it. Mercy is mightiest in the mightiest. It adorns the throned monarch better than does a crown. The physical trappings of his station, such as the scepter, indicates the monarch's power, which is the monarch's claim to awe and majesty, wherein sits the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway, this spectacle of power. Mercy is enthroned in the hearts of monarchs, as the monarch sits on his throne. It is an attribute of God himself, and so the monarch's power is most like God's, when mercy curbs his power and seasons his justice. Therefore, though justice is what you are seeking, Shylock, consider this, that as far as justice is concerned, none of us should escape a harsh judgment, which is why we pray to God for mercy. The same prayer teaches us all to render the deeds of mercy. So while your claim, Shylock, is just, I speak now to mitigate its justice, which, if you insist on the strict law of Venice, you will indeed be given Antonio's flesh. Much more can be said about this scene, but that is not my purpose this morning. Now, grace differs from mercy in that it is not necessarily clear that a supposed offender is as guilty as we may think. Notice that in the definition of grace, it indicated that grace is, or at least can be, a disposition. That is, a part of who a person is, a virtue built into the person's character. We say of such a person, confronted with a supposed offense but withholding an aggressive response, that he or she is graceful or has the grace to not respond as one might think is appropriate or even called for. The gracious person, or the one who can at least summon up a moment of grace, is willing to extend the benefit of the doubt to another. We've all been in situations where we have been on the receiving end of some sharp language, some insult, perhaps a put down, a moment in which we have felt dismissed or even, as I said, insulted outright. We don't easily forget these moments, and the scar left may be permanent. As some of you know, I am not a man of few words. And sometimes I tend to talk over people when I'm trying to make a point that I think is not landing as it should. In a recent online discussion on Zoom, in which I was a participant, one of the other participants insulted me in a way that clearly stunned the other participants and me. While I felt an initial flash of anger, I understood that there was something going on in the person's life that made her quite sensitive to my comments, while I was addressing the national politics of a particular issue. She and her family were living with that issue on a daily basis. For her, it was personal, not merely political. After her outburst, I gathered my strength to show no scowl or grimace, and I maintained my cadence as though nothing at all was said. I knew that she would reach out to me to make sure that the outburst had not done any damage to our relationship. She did, and no damage was done. I considered my control in the face of her insult a moment of grace on my part. But let me assure you, I am not always graceful. And were the person not also a longtime acquaintance, I am not sure I wouldn't have sought a pound of her flesh, figuratively speaking, of course. I'm not always quick to extend the benefit of the doubt, but to remember, as the poet Ellen Bass reminds us in the following lines, of the challenges that all of us face from day to day, some of which we just heard this morning, and the fact that we're all wrestling with life in one way or another. The lines are from Bass's poem, If You Knew. When a man pulls his wheeled suitcase too slowly through the airport, when the car in front of me doesn't signal, when the clerk at the pharmacy won't say thank you, I don't remember. They're going to die. I don't remember they're going to die. What stunning, sobering words of reminder as we have our little fits of pique and suffer our many outrages throughout the days and weeks. The words quickly bring us to our senses, have us tamp down our umbrage, our righteous indignation, our feeling that what we are experiencing is a deliberate attack, one in which someone is intending to do harm to us, or bespeaks in some way that the speaker would prefer, given a more extreme interpretation, a world in which our life is harder, or a world in which we don't exist at all. What is going on in our country at the moment is quite ugly. Ugly chants like Jews will not replace us, or you will not replace us, whomever the you is supposed to be. or we have to stop the infection at the border, and they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, as used against Haitians in one community in Ohio, seem to be daily occurrences. While some of this comes from motives and ideological commitments that we should never abide, there has been a long history of rebuff, silencing, and censoring that has forced some reasonable concerns underground, where they have heated up, turned into lava, and then erupted into the public discourse in the form of ugly invectives such as the ones I just referenced. I argue that it is our failure to listen more closely and with more empathy, at least sometimes, that leads to such eruptions. And the guilty are not all among the MAGA voters. For example, liberals are quick to bark at those calling for a colorblind society. That is because we liberals have concluded that a premature colorblindness will do more harm than good. The same is true of premature gender blindness. As both racism and gender bias have caused tremendous damage to people of color and women, generally speaking, it remains necessary to be race and gender conscious when it comes to offering social opportunities and in securing the common welfare and rights of all citizens. Today, some of our most senior national leaders are calling for such premature color and gender blindness. In their ardor, they seem uninterested in acknowledging the harm still done to Americans on the basis of race and gender, to Americans who have been marginalized and subjected to invidious discrimination. But pointing out the error can be done without imputing dark motives, for I have found that some who call for colorblindness sincerely believe that it would settle the problem of race discrimination and speed our progress toward a time in which we will all be judged by the content of our characters. While they may be wrong in this assessment, while a premature colorblindness will leave in place inequalities and concretized patterns that are the result of a history of vicious discrimination and lock in place marginalized groups, what they seek is not necessarily malevolent. There is nothing at all wrong, in my view, with looking forward to and even working hard to achieve a time in which race and gender won't even rise to consciousness, when economic and other social opportunities are offered by public and private institutions. There's nothing per se wrong with working toward the day when the color of the skin or one's sex or one's gender has much to do with the granting of opportunities, or it has as much to do with the granting of opportunities as a person's dessert preferences. There are many who think that we should be at that place already and would leapfrog over the important work of equity that still needs to be done to correct a terrible historical record of abuse and harm. But it is graceless to assume in all cases that the motive of the proponents of colorblindness are operating from a wicked intention, rather than from an error in judgment that can be hashed out in respectful dialogue. Because we have failed at that, many in the Republican Party have taken to Orwellian newspeak and are conveniently defining discrimination to actually include any policy or practice that has been established to assist, for example, African Americans and women, the historical victims of bias, to take advantage of opportunities. In other words, these Republicans have decided that such policies and practices are per se discriminatory against whites. The same is true of other contested issues: abortion, the level of taxation, environmental regulations, free speech, and others. This is because the loudest voices tend to dominate such debates, often censoriously, which then quickly descend into diatribes and imputations of motives and even hurtful slurs and besmirching. There's a Unitarian Universalist hymn that has been sung here at UUCCN many times, not like the one we just did. You don't know the words to it. It's my fault. We are a gentle, angry people. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing for our lives. I know something about anger, as I'm sure you do as well, and sometimes gentleness does not seem the thing called for. I also know that we are living in a dangerous moment in our country's history, and some self-reflection is required if we would get through it in one piece. How did we get here? Some are wondering whether the country will be able to continue as, indeed, the United States. Given the deadly seriousness of some political groups who have rolled out a comprehensive yet unwise master plan to reshape government and civil society, whether we will or not remain the United States is an open question. I wish I had a more hopeful answer to give you about that. The days ahead will be difficult ones. Indeed, more lives will be lost. But I do believe that the road to this present moment was paved in part by gracelessness. A gracelessness that saw nothing good and only nefarious intent in the other's points of view, as well as the other's emotional states. A different kind of dialogue was, and perhaps is still possible, wherein liberal or conservative that we may be, we engage in a respectful assessment of what an interlocutor, a conversation partner, is saying or trying to say. Sometimes people don't really say what they're trying to say. I know a good many liberals in favor of our progressive tax system who secretly wish that property taxes were lower. You know these people, I'm sure. Who secretly wish that parents would teach their teenagers the benefits of sexual restraint and not only emphasize the proper use of contraceptives. And who secretly cheer on a big military budget in a world filled with threats. But they know that if they disclose these ideas to others, especially in public settings, they may be accused of wanting to underfund local schools, or of harboring outdated sexual mores, or of buying into the warmongering of the military-industrial complex. But holding such secret views, or I should say such views secretly, and even expressing them publicly allows bridges of understanding to be built with people who don't consider themselves liberals. This lack of bridge building has led to the tribalism of the moment. A tribalism that could lead to an irreparable political rupture as each tribe accuses the other of being morally rudderless, political misfits, and insufficiently committed to the welfare of the nation. Perhaps we can assign to ourselves a 20-year project. I don't know, 20 years for me, not sure. Anyway, a project in which we add more grace to our conversations about the issues of the day, to not assume that the people with whom we discuss such issues are simply on the wrong team or are engaged in a cunning subterfuge and are concealing their real intentions. Maybe in 20 years' time, we can arrive at a place, a new politics, where there's new politics in a gentler civil society in which innuendo, the imputation of motives, and tribal instincts are tamped down and restrained. It's not fun to be mischaracterized, demonized, and dismissed. Let me say that again. It's not fun to be mischaracterized, demonized, and dismissed. I don't care what color your state is. And to the extent we're guilty of doing the mischaracterization, demonization, and dismissing, we're setting the scene for continued civil strife and even the rending of relationships in our households and among our friends. This is a tough prescription given the rather dark clouds that hang over our country. But perhaps we can do more than one thing at a time. We surely do have a fight for our democracy. We have that to deal with. There are some things in which grace has no place. A fire hose of blatant and obvious lies from public officials are not occasions for grace. Such require fervid and angry and uncompromising rebuke, perhaps even civil disobedience. But the arrival of such public officials as could engage in such lies, who could indeed, quote, shoot someone in the face on Fifth Avenue and get away with it, end quote. Well, that was long in coming. I want to suggest to you that our gracelessness in how we have treated one another as Americans has helped to create conditions for their rise to power. Just as few people who are pro-choice have not wrestled with the emotional and moral implications of abortion, there are few people who are pro-life who are not serious when they tell you that their motivation is other than a preternatural instinct to protect defenseless human life. We have to deal with that. That's where they are. Doesn't mean they should win the political argument. Neither side of the divide is populated with monsters. Just as few people who are in favor of environmental protection are unaware of the economic costs of environmental regulation, there are few people who are in favor of avoiding a spike in unemployment who have no interest in preserving the natural environment. Of course they do. And they want to preserve it for future generations. Neither side of the divide is populated with monsters entirely. Nobody is purely an environmentalist, just as there is nobody who is purely homo economicus, concerned only with the paycheck and nothing more. People, for the most part, are not stupid or willfully obtuse. But we can make them uninterested in reason or even truth when we back them into a corner, when we tell them to their faces not simply that we think they're mistaken, but that they are both mistaken and degenerate. Perhaps this seems like the wrong time to be recommending more grace across the land. On the other hand, it may be precisely the right time. It may at least save younger Americans, like these guys here, from arriving at a moment such as this, in which the greatest social and political experiment the world has ever known finds itself on the brink of a spectacular failure. Our closing song today is number 94. What is this like? This one you do know.
I'll play through it once.
Okay. today are given, let us go forth and be glad in it. Amen.
I can't enjoy the warming springtime skies when I'm gone. I can't be kind to anyone who cries when I'm gone. And I can't be singing louder than the lies when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
I'm doing great. How you doing? Good to hear. Yes, 1 month. Yes, we was in California. Oh, okay. His parents said, confusion was. How you doing? This is getting old stuff. It's not fresh.
Done a little bit of gardening.
Oh,
I planted 8 pansies.
that's nice. They say pansies that were not in this world before you planted.
Stand up and run.
Oh, well, all right, well, I'm gonna head off to my rehearsal for next Sunday's event.
I've been doing you a check, so you can put it together right now.
We'll miss you.
Custody of my husband and my home. They're not flexible all the time.
Gotcha. Understood. Like in Rain Man. No. 4 o'clock, Judge Wapner is on.
Yes, yes. 23 minutes to Jeopardy. The drill is to my house and we sit for about 20 minutes. Then I have to take them out to dinner. Then I have to bring their home. Then I have to bring them home. And my husband comes home. Then it's
bottom. And this gets them out of the house quickly.
Yeah.